Hello, Lester Holt here at AP News at 5 with my co-host Lori Stokes, and welcome back to another broadcast. Today we'll be talking about recent changes affecting Champaign County here in Illinois, starting with a shocking tragedy that occurred September 11, 2001.
Following the story will be the national housing crisis and how families in Champaign have been affected. Stories on a recent ban on smoking, and removal of Chief Illinois, and on a more positive note, Champaign's efforts to help refugees during Hurricane Katrina will end today's newscast. Speaking of more exciting things, the first episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County just aired. Who is your favorite of the wives, Lester?
Well, I don't know anything about that mumbo jumbo, but I've thoroughly listened to this album, College Dropout, and let me tell you, this Kanye West guy sure is talented.
Well, I may just listen to that album if you promise to watch the first episode of The Real Housewives.
Of course, Lord. Now, on to today's top stories, where recent events in New York will forever change American history. On September 11, 2001, in a coordinated attack of terror, 4 commercial airliners were hijacked by members of the extremist group Al-Qaeda. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost, and the impact continues to reverberate around the world. 8:19 a.m. Eastern Time, American Airlines Flight 11 was reported hijacked. Less than 30 minutes later, at 8:46 a.m., it crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. All passengers were killed on impact, and hundreds of workers were trapped above the 91st floor. As millions watched the smoke pour out from the tower, horror struck again. At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 slammed to the South Tower, killing everyone on board and many more inside the tower. Then at 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., taking the lives of all on board 125 people inside the building. Just 22 minutes later, at 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed in a massive cloud of debris and dust. Meanwhile, passengers aboard the United Airlines Flight 93, learning of other attacks, fought back. Their plane crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. It never reached its intended target, but everyone aboard was killed. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower fell. The skyline of New York and the sense of national security were forever altered. By 12:15 p.m., all U.S. airspace was grounded, including ones of Chicago O'Hare International Airport. It was the first time in history the FAA had taken such an action. My heart goes out to all who have been affected by this event. This will undoubtedly be a day where we remember the lives lost and the heroes who responded.
Although the attacks of September 11th centered on the East Coast, its effects are shared nationwide here. As a nation, we will come out of this together, but for now, we will tend to our wounded and mourn for those we have lost. Here in Central Illinois, a community helpline was set up by the 100 people at the Psychological Services Center, which is staffed by the Clinical Community Psychology Program at the University of Illinois. Unfortunately, this hard time is amplified for some people. Specifically, Arabs and Muslim Islamic charities have had their assets frozen, including Global Relief Foundation, Benevolence International Foundation, and Holy Land Foundation, which are based in the Chicago metro area. For more details pertaining to Arab and Muslim civil rights, the Illinois Advisory Committee has put together a report of all that has happened due to the 9/11 attacks, which will be linked on our website. Today, we invite Noor Rahman, a Champaign-Urbana resident and student at the University of Illinois on September 11th, 2001, to share her experiences and thoughts during that day.
What were you doing when the events transpired?
I remember listening to Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again, and not paying attention in English 101 when the news broke loose. Suddenly, everything stopped. Teachers turned on the TVs, and we all just sat there watching the coverage unfold in real time. We saw the towers burning and then collapsing live on screen. It didn't feel real. We kept saying, "What is going on? This feels like a dream," as if time stood still. I couldn't believe that I was just listening to Britney Spears and now I'm watching the World Trade Center collapse.
It sounds like this event really impacted you and your peers, even if it didn't happen nearby. Would you describe why it's important for everyone in America to know if this event happened?
Well, for me personally, I know that all my family and friends live nearby. However, for some of my friends, they have family who live near the attacks or have businesses there. And I remember some of the students leaving the lecture hall to make sure that they would be okay. Some of them will be, but some may not be so fortunate. So I think that it is important, even for people who are not directly impacted, to stand by and help those who are.
In the following aftermath and years to come, there will be many questions on why these events transpired in the first place, the involvement of Islam extremists and the group Al-Qaeda. What can you say about some people who may be connecting Muslim and Arab Americans here with these extremists?
What I can say is that most of the hate that we see towards Islam and Muslim is coming from a place of fear. And there is a small minority of people who start to express their hatred towards us, which is expected after this event has come about. Many of the Muslims and Arabs that you see on the street are American citizens who do not support these actions and will not condone them. And that these extremists do not represent the whole of Islam, especially after what they have done.
And what I consider that, Ms. Rahman, is that when I look at you, I see an earnest student who's most likely thinking of the essay that you put off at the last minute or what outfit to wear. I will never understand those that see you or your peers as terrorists and dangers to our society. On that note, many Americans will have this sort of mindset. As a university student, how do you plan to combat this?
At first, I was just trying to feel my way through it. Like, how do I even express this? How do I feel about myself in the world right now? The real thinking came later. As Muslim students, we quickly realized we had to take action on our account. We asked ourselves, what do we do next? How do we show up for our community, for our campus even? We plan to start organizing and bring in speakers, meeting with local community leaders, and planning events.
We thank Ms. Rahman for her personal story on this event. Stories like hers illuminate the effects of horrific events like 9/11, but also can inspire positive impacts and show that there is always something to strive for, to improve on.
Although the attacks of 9/11 brought immense pain, they also revealed the strength of the human spirit, whether that be the bravery of first responders, the compassion of strangers, and the determination of communities to stand together, which will endure as time passes.
As the nation sets to recover from the events of September 11th, few could have predicted the subsequent national housing crisis of 2008. However, it seems to have been a disaster in the making. Since the Great Depression, the federal government has enacted policies and agencies that have helped Americans acquire mortgages and loans. This significantly increased the rates of homeownership from the 1940s through to the 1960s. However, as we turn into the new century, the mortgage market has become more privated and has minimal government regulation. This, in turn, led to a dramatic raise of predatory lending combined with high interest rates, which birthed the national housing crisis we see in 2008. People are less able to afford stable housing, leading to high rates of homelessness. This would negatively impact people mentally as their social network, from friends to the family level, is disrupted. There's also a significant economic impact, such as a higher income disparity, as wages stagnate while housing costs rise. Businesses would face challenges like higher production costs in communities which have a reduction in local tax revenue.
Here with us today is Layla Johnson, a longtime resident at Aurora, Illinois, and who has experienced the stark effects of the national housing crisis.
As far as I know, my family and I had made Aurora, Illinois home. I live with my husband and 2 kids in a home we bought in 2005, but it was ours. It was small. We had a decent income back then, and like a lot of people, we took out an adjustable rate mortgage. And it all seemed manageable at first, but by late 2007, things started to shift. My husband worked in construction, and work started drying up. I was doing part-time work in office, but it wasn't enough to carry us. Then our mortgage payment jumped, just as our income kept dropping as well. We were suddenly behind, and the stress was constant. Every day felt like trying to keep water out of a sinking boat. Looking back, the warning signs were there. Home prices had been going up way too fast, and banks were handing out loans to anyone who had a pulse. We knew of neighbors and coworkers who were buying bigger houses with no money put down. It didn't feel right, but it felt like everyone was doing it, and no one wanted to miss out. When the market crashed, our house had lost value real fast. We owed more money than it was worth. A few houses on our block went into foreclosures. The street started to feel empty. Illinois eventually offered relief programs and free counseling, legal aid, and programs to help people modify their loans. But it came late, and it seemed like everyone didn't know which way to go. We kept the house barely, but who's to say that it wouldn't change? The crisis wasn't just financial. It fractured my faith in our government and my place in this country.
Thank you for coming in and telling us your experiences. As we sit here, many people like Ms. Johnson are struggling through the effects of the crisis. To those people, please don't forget that Illinois stands by you and is working to avert the crisis.
And we're back. The smoking issue has been talked about increasingly in different spaces, from chat rooms to conferences. Everyone is eager to share their opinions. We have seen multiple states pass smoking bans in recent years, starting with the first ban that went into effect in Delaware in 2002, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, and many others have followed. Illinois has now become the 22nd state to put in place a ban.
Effective January 1st, 2008, the new Smoke-Free Illinois Act, or SFIA, mandates that smoking in public spaces and places of employment is prohibited, along with smoking within 15 feet of any window or doorway of these spaces.
With the exception of recognized ceremonial smoking practices in Native American groups, everyone must follow in accordance with the law. Places of employment include any area controlled by a public or private employer where workers would need to enter or pass through during working hours frequently.
Now, there have been mixed reactions to this ban. Lester, you mentioned chat rooms. Have you participated in these?
I'm afraid I haven't. It's been a bit of a war zone to even read. Commenters are discussing the environmental impacts of cigarette butts landing on the streets instead of ashtrays in what some describe as cleaner public areas.
I can see they also argue about if freedom of choice is being compromised with the ban or increased. Some commenters claim that before non-smokers could simply choose not to be in smoking spaces, while others say that non-smokers now are subjugated to passive smoking.
Well, those in opposition to the ban have held a number of smoke-ins in protest of the ban. A play on the sit-ins in the 1960s, business owners invite people to smoke within the restricted areas. Law enforcement has yet to comment on it.
Hopefully they comment soon, and if they do, you can hear about it here at AP News at 5.
The University of Illinois has other news to give us. This time, it concerns the treasured mascot fighting the lineup. After making his first appearance in 1926, the beloved image performed his last dance after nearly a century of entertaining.
That's right, Chief Illinois has officially been retired and banned from making any future appearances. The mascot's controversy dates back to the 1960s during the Civil Rights era. Leaders like Charlene Teeters and groups like I Resist protested against the figure because of its stereotypes that harm Native American communities.
However, the figure came under heavy fire in August 2005 when the NCAA instituted a new national policy that affected the school. It banned universities, including the U of I, from organizing postseason competitions because of their Native American imagery.
This action led to the U of I attempting to appeal the decision and joining a lawsuit against the policy, both which failed to be upheld in court. Students participated in the fight to keep their mascot through protesting, while others educated themselves on the history of the industry and the school.
Despite the efforts, the fight ended when the UI Board of Trustees head, Lawrence Epley, officially retired the figure on February 16th, backed up by a 9-1 vote in the UI Board of Trustees on March 13th.
With that, Chief Illinois' final presentation took place during halftime at the Illinois vs. Michigan basketball game, February 21st, 2007, marking the end of a tradition. Still, the pride, resilience, and dedication that was carried by the Chief continues to thrive as fans enter a new era of Illinois sports.
Speaking of change, there's been a natural change.
A hurricane.
A devastating hurricane causing damage along the Gulf Coast, mostly in New Orleans, considered one of the deadliest and costliest hurricanes to ever hit the U.S.
The hurricane hit on August 25th as a Category 1 hurricane. It later progressed to Category 5 when it hit the Gulf of Mexico. When it hit Louisiana, it was classified as a Category 3 with wind speeds of 140 miles per hour.
Louisiana experienced winds up to 100 miles an hour, along with extensive flooding. By August 31st, 80% of New Orleans was underwater. We are devastated for the families in the affected areas.
The loss of property and life will not be ignored. After hearing all of this, you may be trying to figure out how it's going to be fixed.
We are proud to say that Illinois has welcomed several Hurricane Katrina's evacuees. Around 175 individuals have received medical and housing help. IDHS extended its iCare program to provide assistance to evacuees with rent, security deposits, and also medical expenses.
Current Governor Blagojevich dispatched the Illinois Medical Emergency Response Teams to help assist Louisiana medical care. Along with that, Governor Blagojevich also sent the Illinois National Guard to help with the cleanup of the damage and the recovery.
Illinois is eager to help in any way possible in this difficult time.
Please reach out to the IDHS if you or your family has been impacted by the hurricane.
That's all the news we have today. You can stay updated on our website, www.apn5.com. That's www.apn5.com. Thank you for spending some time with us today. From all of us at AP News at 5, we wish you a good night. Stay safe, stay learning, stay joining us at 5 p.m. Central Time. See you tomorrow.